Welcome, season 2, Knickerbocker Banter. After the long off season, we're finally back. And it was an exciting off season, but it still goes slow. No matter what, it still goes slow. What's up, Mills? And Troy, the Kennedy contingent. That's 3 straight guys from Belmore JFK in the house. What's up, guys? So, again, excitement's not even the word for this year. I've thought about the last couple seasons, and I've thought about being close, getting eliminated in the second round, and then obviously the trades, because that is what dominated conversation over the last couple months. Are the Knicks going to be better? What do these trades mean? I know there's a whole group of people out there that are excited about the Randall departure. We thanked him. We appreciated him, but brighter days for the Knicks franchise. He did a hell of a job, but he couldn't drive us home, and he missed a couple postseasons. And now Karl Anthony Towns will be at the forefront of this Knicks offense along with Jalen Brunson, and we'll see what Cat could do in New York. I think that's something I've been hearing about a lot too. Is does Karl Anthony Towns have the thick skin to play in this city? Will he dominate and be able to take the Knicks to the promised land? Because now we are entering the championship window. How many times have you heard that? The championship window that is the New York Knicks right now. And everybody's around the same age, right? Everybody's 28, 27, 29. They don't have really any true savvy vets on this team. There's no 40-year-old. There's no Jason Kidd from the 2013 New York Knicks on this roster, right? Everybody is ready to go in the prime of their careers. So, after the demoralizing defeat yesterday, that was the New York Mets, and I know there are some Yankee fans out there that are really happy, and they still got some October baseball to play, but for the New York Knicks, this is go time, right? This is go time. Boston Celtics win the NBA title. We had an opening night affair with them last year that didn't go that well. Now we try to ruin their ring ceremony on opening night. So, for me, starting this up again, year 2, I've said this before, the support has been overwhelming. I can't even tell you how many times people have said, "Oh, you started this at an absolutely perfect time." And, yes, they when I started this, it was playoff basketball, but the love for the Knicks has always been there. And another thing that I've heard a lot of over the offseason is we haven't had this kind of anticipation since the 90s. My old coach texted me that today. I haven't felt this excited for a Knicks season since Patrick Ewing. So that is what we have in store. We'll see how the pieces fit. I know there's concern about the depth. The Knicks really made some moves here to strengthen their front five. And, 7, 8, 9, 10 might have taken a little bit of a hit. Some of the moves that they made, you gave up, a DiVincenzo and a Randall for one guy. Dating back to the trade last season, you gave up Quickly and RJ for one guy, traded a bunch of picks for Mikal Bridges. So you are left with Bridges, OG, and Cat, which in terms of a starting lineup, when you pair those with Brunson and Hart, is as good of a first 5 as there is in the NBA. But you paid the price. So we will see. And now with the injuries to Shamet, Precious, and to Mitchell Robinson, you're going to see some young guys now put in a position where they didn't think they were going to be in just a couple months ago. Dadier, you got to give me some time on his name, the Frenchster, Dadier, Porty. There's some guys here in Kolick that are going to be put in a position where they're going to have to contribute. Who else is there? I don't worry too much. I said this, Susie, if you're in here, I said this to her earlier. Nothing jumped off the page about the Boston Celtics bench. Sam Hauser, okay, he's a nice player. Al Horford at this stage of his career is a nice player. Pritchard does some nice things, but that's not an unbelievable second unit. It's good. It's solid. The stars take you where you want to go to in the NBA. That's the reality of the situation. You have to have a bench. You have to have guys that come in and spell people. But the bottom line is, if you have a good enough starting five, if your bench is average, your stars will take you to the next level. And right now, there's very few teams, if any, that present the starting lineup like the New York Knicks do. And that is what we are hoping carries them. And health. We've already been caught by the injury bug. Don't be confused by the weather. It's not May right now. And I thought that's where the Knicks were going to leave their injury bug in 2024. And they didn't. They have a few ticks right now that they're dealing with. Few inconveniences, if you will. And that is why some of these younger players, that's been the theme, that's been the conversation. Who is going to step up and who is going to be put in that position? And we all know Tibbs has no problem not playing a lot of guys. That's never really been an issue with him. But you think about it, McBride, Sims, with those other guys out and missing, there's not a lot of other players that he's going to be able to turn to, with the Knicks cutting some of their vets and waiving some of those players that aren't first-year guys. And I date back to a couple of years ago when Emmanuel Quickley and Toppin and some of these other players were trying to work their way into the rotation. We know Tibbs hasn't necessarily trusted the younger players. But this is going to be one of those situations where Tom really doesn't have a choice. And interestingly enough, and I don't mean to forget Cameron Payne, because he's going to get some opportunity as well. Those three guys are going to be the first three players off the bench. Payne, McBride, Jericho Sims. Tibbs is going to trust who's one who's not only had NBA experience before, but two has been on the Knicks roster before, and that's McBride and Sims. And then obviously Cam Payne has had the 9-year NBA career, and he'll have the opportunity. But you talk about the guys, Dadier, Forty, and also Kolek, those seem to be the players that, based off the preseason and based off everything that I'm hearing, will have an opportunity to break into the Knicks rotation. Tibbs is very comfortable playing 9 guys because what he's done is he's taken a starter over the years, whether that is Bridges, Anunoby. It's not going to be a big. It's probably not going to be Brunson. I would think it's either going to be Hart, Anunoby, or Bridges that gets a lot of run with that second unit. That is what we've seen Tibbs do in the past. It's been, the 5 starters will play their minutes. Somewhere along the lines towards the end of the first quarter, we will see one of those starters remain in the game with the 4 bench players. So I'm interested to see who exactly that is and what exactly they do. But that trade rocked the NBA world. It's something that until we see regular season games and see both Randall and Dante in Timberwolf uniforms, and obviously there was that run-in that Dante had with Tibbs and the coaching staff, which was just, to me, that wasn't much of anything. It was, I'm a little frustrated with the fact that I was the odd man out here, and the Knicks didn't want Dante DiVincenzo to hold up that trade. But it's weird, right? It's a little weird still for me. And I know once the games start going and once we see Towns have a couple 20 and 10s, everything's going to be all right. We know what is going to happen with the Knick fan and the overreaction, or telling us that if they're 6-1, they're an NBA Finals team. If they're 2-5, they should blow it up. And this was an awful trade. But my rule of thumb has always been 20, 25 game sample. Let's see what it looks like then. And then we could go from there. Then we can decide what we think of this 2024, 2025 Knicks team. But it's really, really exciting to see what is going to be made of this now that they have that expectation on them. We said going into last season that the Eastern Conference Finals would have been a very successful year. But the Knicks no longer have that luxury now of that mindset. This is not really the case anymore here. The Knicks have proven now with the way that they've decided to go about their business that they are all in. This is what we're trying to do. We're competing for a championship. Now, I would be lying to you if I said if they made the NBA Finals and maybe it didn't go well, we have trouble saying those seasons are failures. But there is a window, as you hear a lot, and I've mentioned at the beginning of the show, there is a legitimate window for the Knicks to win the championship. Dad, what's up, bud? Get those predictions into me, man. Get those conference predictions in, and we'll see if Jalen Brunson, by the way, what he does individually. And now that it's his third year with the group, is he going to be an MVP conversation again? Is he going to be first team All NBA again? Let's go Knicks is right. So as the Instagram page posted the other day, more text over the last couple of days about the Knicks than I do on my birthday. It's Christmas morning, however you want to phrase it. The Knicks get to go into Boston and try to break up the ring ceremony. How exciting. And a couple Knicks making their debuts in Bridges and Cat. So, listen, if you can't get hyped up for this after what you've seen over the last couple of seasons, I don't even know what to tell you at this point, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And I've talked about a lot of, dominating something that was a theme for me since I started this show was dominating at MSG. And I looked at the stat in 2022, 2023, Brunson's first year here, they were close to 500 at home. And then last season, there was a little bit of an improvement. They won, they only lost 14 games at home. 10 or less. That's a number I've talked about. I've been on record about. That is the goal here, to dominate on your home floor, to be the team that could go out and have, a 31-10 type year at MSG. So we hope that could be more of a home court advantage than it's been. Because if you're an elite team, if you are the Boston Celtics of the world, if you are, even the Oklahoma City Thunders of the world, if you want to be a top team in the Eastern Conference, teams have to fear coming in here. And we have the bad taste in our mouth from last season about Game 7. And we hope that this little bug that they're dealing with right now with guys such as Precious and Robinson's always banged up, but, Shamet coming back and they look to pick him back up off waivers when that shoulder heals. But you hope that the Knicks aren't able to pile up excuses, because that is something that I heard a ton of at the end of last season, and rightfully so with half their team out. But you hope that they get to go at this team thing full strength. I agree, Dob. So I did the poll today of Dadier and Huckporty, who would be more impactful? And the reason why I'm voting Dadier is because of what the Knicks don't have right now. Sims is going to be the first guy to get the opportunity off the bench. Who is the backup three? Who is the forward off the bench? Who's spelling Josh Hart of all these minutes? So I think, again, I don't look at a preseason game and say, oh my God, this guy had 16 and a quarter. He's going to be in the Rookie of the Year running. But he was impressive at times. And he's only 19. I don't know how much Tibbs is going to trust a 19-year-old, but if I had to make a prediction on who was going to have more of an impact in the first 25 games of the season when these guys are hurt and we're trying to get healthy again, I'd lean towards Dadier and being a 6'8" forward off the bench that can hit the three ball. It's great that these young guys, I was saying this to someone earlier today, and I've posted about it over the offseason. It's great that these young guys are going to be able to learn from who they're going to be able to learn from. This is how you build a winning team. This is how you build a winning franchise. This is how you build a winning culture. When you bring rookies in to a mess, sometimes their careers become a mess. When you bring rookies into what the Knicks have created now, you give them a better chance of success. And I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see guys like Dadier, Kolek especially, and Huckporty learn from successful players, winning players, learn the right way to do things, learn the right habits, be in a locker room that produces, and you will see them find their way. So hopefully the Knicks have an injection of youth that gives them stability off the bench, gives these starters a blow when they need it, but it comes down to those top dudes. And that is where the next season will be decided. And I want to get to the Bridges thing. I had to bring this up because it's bothered me that so many people are all over the dude with the shot and all that stuff. If he starts the year 20% from three after 15 games, then we could talk. And I don't know why. Again, he's changing things. I always thought of him as a really solid shooter. I don't know if he's in his head or not. I don't know if somebody told him something. But can we at least wait for the dude to take some certain amount of threes in an NBA game before we jump down his throat and get all over him because he missed a bunch of threes in the preseason and you don't like his shot? By the way, I don't care if the Knicks punt the ball in the basket. If it goes in, it goes in. We're not here to aesthetically please you, okay? That's not what we're here for, okay? The shots of, if you're a basketball historian, you know about Kevin Martin. You know about Sean Marion. You know about some of these weird-looking shots that go in. I'm not worried about Bridges having good form or fluid form. I think he eventually figures it out, and I trust him because he plays every day. I think the thing that Knicks fans are really going to appreciate of Mikal Bridges, and knock on wood wherever you are about his health, he's never missed an NBA game. Okay? This is a guy he's a lunch pail, blue collar, play defense, hustle. He's cut from that Villanova cloth. So I think there will be a lot of appreciation to Mikal Bridges and what he represents and who he is as a player. The Knicks gave up a haul for him. They are very confident that Bridges finds his way. And I can't even believe I'm phrasing it like that because we haven't started the regular season, which will start tomorrow night in Boston. But enough with the jump shot, enough with all that BS. Yes, I know he was 0 for 10 the other night. It's enough. All right? Mikal Bridges will be just fine. And you know what? The bottom line when it comes to the starting lineup, I think I've touched on this word maybe 7 times already in the season opening episode. Health. How many games is OG Anunoby going to play? How many games is Karl Anthony Towns going to play? That is what I'm concerned about. Because we've already seen Mitchell Robinson, and I put up a poll a couple weeks ago about will Mitchell Robinson play another game as a Knick? There are some people that don't believe so. Now, the dude Murphy just signed a long extension with the Pelicans. I know that was a trade rumor for a while. I really did think the Knicks were going to explore that Robinson outlet and that option because they were making so many deals at the time. And I think people were just expecting the Knicks to make another deal. Oh, they traded this guy. They traded that guy. Robinson's got to be next. I pulled a shirt out of my dresser the other day that says, "We here." It was the Knicks slogan back in 2020, 2021, when they made the playoffs against the Hawks, their first playoff appearance in 8 years. There's one guy remaining from that team just 3 years ago, Mitchell Robinson. And so he had a weird offseason on social media. I don't know if anybody follows him. Love the dude. He plays with a lot of energy when he's out there. Don't love the fact that he shoots 40-something% from the free throw line, but he is a defensive anchor, and he is an OG original Knick and the last man standing from the group that made the postseason a few years ago. But I don't necessarily see the long-term future, especially if he can't stay on the court. That's going to be a problem. So the Knicks might look to explore that. They might not. But again, we know that Mitchell Robinson will not be ready to go until December, January. Those months have been floated out there. So we shall see. We shall see. We shall see how the Knicks look early on. And I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but pump the brakes on if they don't have the start that you envision for them. Would it be great to get out to a fast start? Would it be great to avenge some of these losses from teams like the Pacers, the Celtics? The Knicks' first 10 games, you look at it, you're playing all the playoff teams. You're playing a majority of them on the road. Philly's on there, Miami's on there, Cleveland's on there. I think the only playoff team they don't play from last season in the first 10 games is the Orlando Magic. So before anybody looks at a potential 5-5 start, or I already know what the narrative is going to be. And it's the Knicks screwed up here. They shouldn't have messed with something. They should have seen the January Knicks through. Well, you should see the 2024-25 Knicks through more than a dozen games. Patience. I told Troy I appreciated his comment today and his message on Instagram about patience in New York. It's an oxymoron. Those two things, they just don't go hand in hand in this city. Especially a city that is starving. Now, the Liberty, if you're a women's basketball fan, brought the championship back yesterday. Congratulations to them. The New York Knicks fan is absolutely starving. They've got a taste. I refer to it as the appetizer. And now they want the full course meal. Now they want the really deep playoff run. And as exciting as the last couple of seasons have been, I was thrilled to be at those playoff games. Shout out George, my brother-in-law, for always hooking it up and being at the Garden when those games really matter. But the second round ain't going to cut it anymore. It's that simple. So as we look towards another chapter, another season of Knicks basketball, it's something that I never thought I would say, especially growing up watching this team and just anticipating disappointment. Say it with your chest. The New York Knicks are championship contenders. That's what they are. That's not biased. That's not being optimistic. We are living in a world where the New York Knicks are going out to compete for the Larry O'Brien Trophy, and that's the reality of the situation. And that, to me, is, whatever happens in these first 10 games, of course I want the Knicks to win every night they go out there. I'll be rooting my butt off as usual. And just to give you guys an idea, I'm going to be coming out with an episode once a week, every Monday this season. And there's so many exciting things coming up to announce, and going to get on the post-game live as often as possible, going to do the lunchtime live on some exciting events and important events. But this is everything you could ask for. And health is the theme. It's going to continuously be the theme, but they're going to play and compete for the championship. And I hope that they could ruin the Celtics ring ceremony. A little salty about that championship they got. Would have loved to have our guys against them last season, but neither here nor there. Not living in the past. Give them credit. I don't believe in cupcake rings. I don't believe in Mickey Mouse rings, however anybody else has ever wanted to say it. A ring is a ring. Championship. They won it. The Knicks try to go in there tomorrow night and screw some things up. And they have some payback on their minds for opening night last season. If you remember correctly, the Knicks had a lot of trouble early in the season last year with the top teams. They lost their first 7, I want to say, to the Bucks and Celtics. And out west, it wasn't pretty either. So we will see what they could do early. And they'll get the test, as I said, with other teams. But don't look at those first few, whether it's Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, how Josh Hart looks with the starting lineup, how many young guys are playing, whatever the case is, and however you're going to draw this thing up, just keep in mind that some of these guys haven't played together. And yes, Dob, you are correct. Got to let the guys gel. It's just one of those things where I don't want to repeat myself. And I'm going to be frustrated if certain things occur, if they give up 130 points in a game, or, there's still criticism, right? If you start a certain way or you lose in a certain fashion. But the NBA season is unique in the fact that it really doesn't truly take off until Christmas. And we'll see where the Knicks are at. And I refer to the last couple seasons just because this is what the barometer is, and this is what Brunson-led teams have done, and Tibbs-led teams have done. The 10-13 start a couple years ago. They were 17-15 at one point last year. 500 ball, under 500 ball, going on their winning streaks and getting hot in the spring and playing well when they needed to play well. But I'm not going to look at that early sample and make a judgment just yet. I've even made the prediction, and I'm not a big prediction guy. I don't like to look too far into the future with my own team, but I think the 1 seed is going to matter to them, though. I would love to get off to that 15-5 start. I dream about it, right? You have those daydreams about the Knicks dominating the NBA. Maybe I'm weird in that way, but that's what I think about sometimes, because the Knicks dominate basketball. And I think that's going to matter to them. I home court, they've lost it in the last couple of seasons in the playoffs, right? Against the Pacers and against the Heat. They had home court in both those series, but I think getting that 1, they were the 2 last year. Getting that 1 is going to be something that's on their mind. And being the best team in the Eastern Conference. Right now, Boston, until proven otherwise, is better. And just because a team wins or loses tomorrow isn't going to determine the case there. But the fact that it's a conversation, the fact that we are in that discussion is a beautiful thing. So again, moral of the story, the New York Knicks are playing for the Larry O'Brien Trophy. That's where we're at. And to me, those other guys coming back, and those other guys we lost, by the way, the Knicks made a decision to part ways with Dante DiVincenzo because they did not think, even as well as he played and guys like Hartenstein played, that those were going to be the deciding factors in their title run. They stocked up. They got a little top heavy. I trust Leon Rose. He has gained the benefit of the doubt without question, because I want to remind you of the narratives surrounding some of the moves that he's made in the past, right? Let's talk about it right off the bat. Jalen Brunson, we know how that was criticized. Obviously, everyone could agree that worked out pretty well. And now I know what the general attitude around the OG Anunoby trade was when it first happened for most people. Now, he hasn't stayed healthy. He needs to. But looking back on it, it's still a move I would have made, and a lot of Knicks fans would have made. Let's take our time with this one. Let's digest it. Let's watch them play. Let's see how the offense opens up around Karl Anthony Towns. Because the way I see it is, it's going to be very difficult to outscore the New York Knicks. And once guys start getting in their rhythm, and once guys start figuring out their roles and where they need to be and how comfortable they are with one another and get a few games under their belt, you're going to see a fine oil machine. I think their offense is going to be off the charts. And we know what they could do defensively. And I know there's some concerns about rim protection, but their perimeter defense is damn impressive. So we shall see when it comes to the dominance on the offensive end. But I got a good feeling about that. And so I can't make a grade on the trade. I can't say if it was a failure or success yet. But I got a good feeling about how those two guys, how Cat and Brunson, are going to do damage together as one of the more prolific duos in basketball. So, like I said before, everything is appreciated. The likes, the comments, the follows, the shares. This has been quite the ride. I'm so excited for season 2 to grow, to get better, to learn more stuff, maybe better technology, although I doubt that, but I'm going to try and go forward here. Right? We have the child segment coming up, which I will be promoting in the next upcoming days, and he'll have his first appearance in November, and hopefully more guests to come. We're going to bring back Steve Popper of Newsday, which is really exciting because he's inside the locker room, and he is getting that scoop that not a lot of people get. And he's written some really great articles already to start this season. So shout out to him as well, and everyone out there that has taken a liking to this and has followed this. Like I said, it's always appreciated, and it's a humbling experience to go through. And I can't wait. Throw the ball up. Let's compete. Let's go. Let's do it. As I say every time I sign off, enjoy this basketball. This is a brand of basketball we're waiting a long time to see. It's finally here. Knicks Celtics tomorrow night. I will be back to recap it after on the post-game live. Have a great night.